Well, I saw her and I was like, that's my wife.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm gonna marry her.
So we'll catch up soon then.
Caught up for a coffee and
No, but then you called me while I was in the car driving with my friends and said, how about a foot massage? And I was
Oh,
like,
what?
thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And I was like, I think it's
a bit
too late
forward.
for that. Yeah.
And I remember the first time we went there, we walked into your friend Chunky Bande and those other movie stars and they're always there.
And they were all like, ooh, over him, you know. Then one day I told him, don't call me anymore because I don't want a long distance relationship. He said, no, come back to India, let's go to Goa.
So that was the time when we decided we're gonna make it, not make it or break it, we're gonna make it or make it. in
How
our
many dogs do
society.
you have? Do tell our audience.
We have 8 inside the house and then we look after about 600.
I've never really looked at like having a relationship with a person like a colour or religion or something like that because I come from quite an open family,
Right.
though I'm Greek.
I never really looked at it that way.
For sure. But what about
But-
your family? Like, how did they feel about that? Hello, and welcome back to Love Handle, where we get unfiltered about love and relationships. I couldn't be more pleased and honored to be joined by Ranjit and Tina. Welcome to both of you.
Oh, thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you so much for coming. Would you mind giving a very brief introduction?
Well, I'm actually born in London and I'm half American, so I've lived between London and New York and a little bit of LA, and now I live here. And
Yes.
happily married ever after, being an interior designer and being in fashion, so I'm a creative force, so wherever I go I feel my creativity comes along with me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what about you?
I grew up in California and I'm a civil engineer. I've lived in the Midwest USA also for a considerable amount of time. And I've been in India since 2012. We've been married since 2020. Together we're into business and we are interior designers and builders.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to rewind the clock a little bit to the time when both of you met. Can you please paint a picture for us and take us through the beginning of your love story?
I've always been in and out of India sourcing fabrics because I was always into design, whether it was for furnishings or fashion. And I'd come on a trip in 2012 on New Year's, and a friend of mine said, come to this New Year's Eve party. And it was a group of us and we were all meant to go to this party, bring a bottle of champagne. And a couple of days before, a friend of mine says, why are you going to go to that party? You should just come with me to Calcutta. I don't think I want to do that. I don't want to do an all-nighter and get a 6 a.m. flight to Delhi. So I said, I'm just going to go with the plan of what I had originally, originated in New York with my friends, that we're going to go to this party, quite a flamboyant party. I had 2 options. And I think that sometimes you get to a road and somebody says, come here. And I said, you know what? No, I'm going to stay, and I'm just going to stay on my path.
Your
because
intuition.
if I'd gone to that yacht party, I would have never met Ranjit. And it's so funny because I was with 2 designers from New York, and when Ranjit walked in, they're like, there's your husband. I says, nah, no. I mean, I never thought about it again because it was just we say, there's a nice piece of, eye candy or something.
Right.
And then at the end of the night, it was about 2 o'clock, right? Wasn't it about 2 o'clock in the night? And you were having dinner with your friend, and I sat down with my friend, and we started having a conversation at the dinner table around 2 a.m.
Yes, and it was a fabulous party indeed. And we're sitting across the table from each other, and I asked her out for a date, and it was a coffee.
No, you ran after me, so
Well, I
it
ran
wasn't
after
really like that. So
Right.
we sat at the table, and I asked him if he was with his friend, that they were together, and and he's like, no, we're just friends. And as I was leaving, he says, can I get your number? And I was like, okay, you can get my number. Just another friend to have in India. Whenever I come here, I have another number to call.
So Ranjit, what was your first impression of Tina when you guys met?
Well, I saw her and I was like, that's my wife.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm gonna marry her. I think we could get along just fine.
How did you make that snap decision so quick?
Well, I think it was a couple of things put together. She was, she's always been gorgeous, and I've always found her beautiful inside and out. And she was always a great conversationalist. We had a great conversation, even if it was brief, but I liked it, and I saw the power in her. The way she could kind of
conduct the
conversations
at
and
the dinner table.
at the dinner table,
Yeah.
and it was quite perfect. And I asked her for a phone number, and she gave it to me, and we
I said, "Oh, we'll catch up soon then."
caught up for a coffee. And
No, but then you called me while I was in the car driving with my friends and said, "How about a foot massage?" And I was
Oh,
like,
what?
thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And I was like, I think it's
a bit
too late
forward.
for that. Yeah.
We were friends for a few months before.
We're not really
we started
friends. He
dating.
was sending me flowers in New York. So he came to the hotel
True.
every day while I was in India, and we had a coffee and a little
Dinner.
chat up, and we used to just exchange. Like he used to talk about what he does, I used to talk about what I did, and we just like every night whenever I came back, we used to meet for a drink, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so then when I went back to New York, he was still persisting to call me. And then one day I told him, don't call me anymore because I don't want a long distance relationship. So he said, no, come back to India. Let's go to Goa.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the time when we decided we're going to make it, not make it or break it, we're going to make it or make it.
Yeah.
And
So he invited me back, and I was coming back in March.
And as silly as I always am, I got the dates wrong, and she thought I was just messing her about.
Yeah, I thought he was playing games.
So at the end of it, I ended up booking a holiday nevertheless, and we went down without the wedding, and
What a great time.
and that was the first time we started dating, and that was a few months from the first day we met.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was beautiful. We go there every year almost, and our suite
Yeah.
that we stay in, it's always the same one. And I remember the first time we went there, we walked into your friend Chunky Pandey, and those other movie stars, and they're always there.
And they were all like, ooh, over him,
and his daughter was so young at the time.
Yeah, now she's quite a celebrity. So anyway, so the thing is that we, I didn't really think I didn't think marriage at all when I met Ranjit. I was not thinking, because we have an age difference. So I was just like, I thought it was just going to be another friend that maybe I can just connect with when I come to India, that's, interesting and has nice words and is nicely mannered, that I can enjoy, a dinner with.
Yeah.
I suppose it was meant to be because of the plan that I was meant to stay on.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think, there's going to be something else down the road, and maybe that was my destiny from the higher being, God, or the universe, right?
It was all planned out from the very get-go.
I guess so. So obviously you come from different cultures and you have different ethnic, origins and backgrounds. So tell me, how did that shape your relationship?
Didn't really, because I've never really looked at like having a relationship with a person like a color or religion or something like that, because I come from quite an open family, though I'm Greek.
Right.
My brother's married a Caribbean, my other brother married a lady from London. So we've never really been brought up to look at, what's your perfect partner?
Right, exactly. I was brought up in the US, and so I grew up among Chinese people, African people, different cultures.
Absolutely.
And some multicultural, multi-religious people, and I never really looked at it that way. So I just never really had any set criteria in my mind that I'm going to marry only like this kind of color or that kind of person.
For sure. But what about your family? Like, how did they feel about that?
My dad grew up in a village. My mom did too, in a small town. And I grew up in San Francisco, California. So, there's always going to be a difference in opinions on the same subject. And so my perspective towards anything is always in contrast to my parents. But it all worked out at the end, didn't it?
That's what matters.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Everybody's going to have an opinion.
We're blessed. Everyone
You
has
can
opinions,
either, take it to heart or leave it, whatever. But I think that if you can block out all the negative stuff, then you can keep on going. Because if you start like accepting all the negative stuff, then it hurts your relationship. We've figured it out ourselves now, really. We haven't let whatever it
interracial,
is,
different colors.
It doesn't really get to my skin or get under my skin. So I feel like if you allow it to, then it will bother you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as long as you both are on the same team, then you're able to put a united front out there, essentially.
I was single for a couple of years before I met Tina. And I was convinced I was not going to find anybody for a very, very long time.
Yeah, you mentioned once that you had decided you would never get married.
I had sworn to myself
too.
I'm going to be one of those
You too?
people who's
Yeah.
going to be unmarried till the age of 100. And I met Tina and I was like, well, interesting. And so, you know, there was a study, I don't remember which university, but there was a psychologist who
Right.
said that if you can live together for 2 years straight without major hiccups, then you guys will be able to be married for the rest of your lives easily.
Interesting.
So we were together for about, what, 8-9 years before we got married?
We started like dating in
13 to
2013, and then I used to come
7
in and
years.
go out. So, but then we decided, you know, that I needed to move here because it was too long distance
Right.
to keep my place in New York, and started getting
Wow.
a lot of dogs. So that
You
You do have
grounded
a lot
me.
of dogs,
Yeah,
yes.
so that grounded me more here,
Yeah.
and
We married 7 years later living together, and I think it was perfect.
we married during COVID, so we didn't have any wedding because we just was us two and a few witnesses, and went to the registration office because we'd already made the date, so we
Yeah.
couldn't really change it.
Yeah.
So there was my brothers couldn't fly in, none of my family could fly in because there was no flights. But we said let's just go for it anyway. So we just went for it, wasn't it?
We went for it, and it was fabulous, as simple as it was.
Yeah, we went like in our pajamas in the morning, and it was just like really funny that we
we just shifted the
we just
residences,
moved house the night before.
and you know, everything was packed up, and
We couldn't find anything, so I was just like, let's just go, let's just put anything on.
Yeah.
So I don't think, I think in India, because the live-in relationship doesn't really happen that often.
Right.
So maybe nobody, you know, their whole thing of taking the bride home is quite a big thing.
Vidai
And
like,
they have to
saying
leave their
goodbye
family and go to another family and live
Right.
with the family and the parents. So but we lived on our own, so we did not have parents. So
Right.
we had a lot of independency. Because
Absolutely.
I like independence, and I've always been used to it. So I felt that was very important in our path.
Oh yeah,
You know.
we lived in a hotel for about 2.5
Yeah, we
years.
had a hotel.
In a
room.
hotel?
Yeah, we were at Taj.
Oh my goodness.
Vivanta pe Taj Surajkund for about.
2 years.
So how did you make
was-
that decision?
It wasn't really a decision. In 2017, I had to make a decision of whether I was going to come here forever.
So-
but that was a breaking decision because I had to decide, am I going to have two lives, or should I have one life and be happy with it? So it's kind of like that.
You just kind of make a choice and stick to
Yeah.
it. So tell me about business, because you both work together. How has that influenced your relationship?
So you know, I'm a civil engineer.
Yes.
I have trained as a road engineer, and I'm not into I'm into civil work. And she's a fashion designer. So I look at things from a very structural point of view. And when it comes to color stories, fabrics, materials, touching, feeling things, art, you know, all that craftsy, creative stuff, I like to leave things to the professionals. Of course, I have an opinion too.
Yes.
So, and I respect her opinion over mine when it comes to that stuff. So she always gets the first right to say on what I think would work or not work.
Yeah.
And we do have a conflict in opinion, but we've managed to
it's not
respectfully.
smooth sailing all the time. It's not like we get up and it's a bed of roses, you know. It's like I drink 5 coffees and he's still sleeping, and I'll start talking about things. He's like, how many coffees did you have? So I'll be bouncing off the wall, and we're like, can I just wake up? Because I get up super, super early.
Right.
Me too. I hit the gym early.
Yeah, so we, you know, but we find a balance. We do talk about things a lot. I mean, we talk about workload. Sometimes we talk about it even in our room, you know, because, you know, the time is of the essence a lot of times, and there's a lot of decisions to make.
Especially if you're doing your own venture.
Yeah, and plus because, you know, so sometimes we discuss things, and there's not a rule of thumb, okay, we only discuss things between 9 and 5, because when you have, you know, working together and you run your own business, it has to be kind of discussed all the time.
Absolutely. It's all consuming.
It's not like we'll sit and have dinner and say, well, we can't talk about work, because it's always going to be, oh, like we'll sit at dinner
You're
and I'll
holding
be like,
back.
oh, I like that light, or I like that,
Yeah.
you know, that you know, detailing.
You're taking inspiration.
Because, you know, you're always looking, as a designer, you're always looking for inspiration and ideas. So you're never not really evolving in your mind.
You're always on a little bit.
Yeah. It's like the craziness of India, the
It's
way
like the
everybody
Delhi
drives,
traffic.
but nobody crashes the car.
Yeah.
That it
The
never
motorcycles
really-
come from like flying from the left and the
Right.
right, and somehow they always work out.
Definitely. You've had so many years together, and I'm sure you've accumulated countless memories. Is there a cherished, particularly special memory that stands out in your journey together?
A couple.
I'm sure.
A
I'm
few.
sure more than a couple.
No, there's a lot. I mean, I suppose the first time when we went to go in March, that was quite magical because we had a really nice time, didn't we? You know, it was getting to know somebody. We really, you know, it was quite sad because I was flying back to New York. So it was quite magical. It was like being on a honeymoon, but not really a honeymoon. So
Yeah.
it was like, you know, and not really knowing where anything goes after that because it was all initial.
Yeah.
It was
That
initial
uncertainty.
start. So we never really knew how things would pan out. But you had given me a promise ring at the airport, I think, at the restaurant, remember?
I did.
Yeah, before we got on the flight, he said, oh, this is a promise ring to you. And I was like, what's a promise ring? I didn't even know.
Yeah.
And that was before we embarked on the journey to Goa.
Oh. So you were so sure. So
So he
early
was so
on.
sure and I was not thinking that we're going to get married.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
What is your favorite quality in Ranjit?
Well, he's honest and he's kind. That's the most important thing, you know. Being kind, you know, we love animals. He loves animals. For me, if I was with a person who was not an animal lover, if you were to say one quality you would want in a man, what would it be? And I said, well, I'd want them to like horses and be a rider because I was always into horses. I was a rider. I was equestrian. And we never had this conversation. And one day I go to his house and I said, who's that in the picture on the horse? And he was a show jumper in Delhi.
Oh,
he was like a
wow.
national
Wow.
show jumper in Delhi.
Right.
And he's like,
Yeah,
that's
represented
me.
India
And I
No way.
at the Fair
said,
Equestrian International.
I couldn't believe
Yeah.
that I manifested that I
Yeah.
wanted a person who was a horse rider. But we never had this conversation ever for like, I think after 6 months, I think I saw that
After
picture.
6
And I was like,
months, yeah.
who's that on the horse in
Yeah,
the picture? And he's
yeah.
like, that's me. I said, you're a horse rider.
And how about you? What is your favorite quality in Tina?
You know, I love the fact that she's like, she's a woman of power. So if in London and New York, you know, her reputation precedes her. Her friends, even in LA,
Oh, yeah.
right? Even now even in Delhi too. You've been in Delhi long enough, but London and New York, primarily, the way her friends kind of speak about her, and I like the fact that she's got this energy about everything that she does, and you know, whether it's and especially the number one thing that I'm grateful to God for introducing me to her that day was the fact that she's always been very giving. You know, she's looked after all the dogs in
How
our
many dogs
society.
do you have? Do tell our audience.
We have 8 inside the house, and then we look after about 600.
No, not 600. We look after 30 on Embrook and 40 in City Forest. But then we have a group in Sanet Farm that I initiated when
But there are
during
hundreds
COVID.
of them.
There was 500. But that's a group. That's a group. But on my own, I do a lot.
And it's funny because, you know, any animal that falls sick, whether it's a cow or even these blue bulls, you know, that walk around.
Neil guy.
Horse,
Neil
a
guy.
horse, they all end up outside my house.
They come
It's
in
like they're
front of our-
drawn to you.
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah. This cow came and gave birth right in front of our house.
Oh, wow.
And then this Neil guy was injured pretty badly from its stomach, and it just kind
All
of
its
just
intestines.
lied down in front of our gate, waiting for her to come out.
And then the horse with the bad foot.
the horse with the bad foot came
right
and found
outside
you.
the house. So
somehow animals kind of know.
maybe I'm the animal whisperer. I just don't know it.
Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah.
I suppose you could say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Do you guys have any rituals, like relationship rituals that you have? You have such busy lives, hectic lives. Are there certain things that you don't do without fail?
Relationship rituals.
We don't really have any relationship rituals.
No.
What would you say is a relationship ritual?
I have to pick you up from the airport whenever you're flying from somewhere without
We
failure.
didn't last
That's
time.
special.
No, but last time he didn't.
Last time I did not, but that was the only one time.
Yeah.
Only
Yeah.
one time in 13 years.
Yeah. We have a lot of single people in our audience. What is some advice you would give to someone who's looking out for a relationship, hasn't quite found love yet? Sure.
So I want to say that you need to be with your partner for give it at least 2 years. before you decide to tie the knot, so that you could be absolutely 100% dead sure that you guys are going to last together?
I believe you have to give everybody a chance. You see, when you meet somebody and say, oh, they're not this, they're not that, they're not that. You see, if you have a checklist and you keep on marking off the checklist, you're never going to find somebody who's going to complete the checklist.
Okay.
So I think that a lot of people have too many things on their checklist and they're not really looking at the person as an individual. So that makes it hard to actually meet somebody that might be right for you, like them or dislike them.
Yeah.
So you,
And it depends on what you choose to
Yeah.
focus on,
Yeah.
right? Are you focusing on the negatives and on the lack of, or just focus on what
so
you
I
have?
just say give everybody a chance. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I think don't read into it. Go for a coffee. Maybe meet somebody. We went for a coffee. I didn't know I'm going to marry Ranjit that night. He knew he was going to marry me.
Yeah.
But I'm not into that stuff. So, but I just think go with your heart and, you know, and find somebody that you really feel like, you know, that you can work it out with.
Yeah.
And don't be in haste, because we've seen some really bad falls with haste marriages and, you know, people that have just gone because of pure family pressure, and then it just never ends up well because, you know, there's too much pressure and they're really not ready for it. And
just
I
rushing
think
into things.
you have to be ready. You have to feel that this person's a person you want to spend the rest of your life with. And
The worst thing that I've seen people do is just open up each other's bank financials. You know, how much are they earning? How much does this family do in revenue per month?
Take out the pay slip.
Yeah, yeah. What
that's
kind of
all
cars
like
do they own?
What is his ideal vacation destination?
Goa.
Goa. Is that right? Awesome.
Or is it Greece?
Greece.
Greece?
Greece it
Which
is.
I mean,
which
Greece.
island?
Spetses.
Oh.
Island.
Lovely. What was she wearing on the first date? Do you remember?
Yes. She's wearing a black dress with red collars.
Actually, it was pink collar.
Pink collar.
Oh,
but I
pink
thought
collar.
it was red.
Yeah.
Okay. It was dark.
And he had a
Yeah.
red shirt on.
Oh, nice.
New Year's Eve. And
Yes.
a white jacket.
Oh, yeah.
He had a white jacket and a red shirt on.
That's funny. All right, we'll wrap up there.
Yeah.
Thank you so very
hope
much
it
for
was
joining
okay.
us.
Thank
It
you
was
for having us.
excellent. I loved it. You're such a hoot every time we hang out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for watching another episode of Love Handle. If you enjoyed this video, do be sure to hit subscribe, share it with your friends, like the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.